Shashi, we are all spiritual beings with a human experience. Is something which is, spoken everywhere when it comes to spirituality. What is this being?
In fact, once if we understand the being,
Is it a state? Or what is that being basically?
yeah, it is a kind of, it's a state only.
Okay.
So there is, in this ecosystem, we got so many beings. Microorganisms are beings, living beings, non-living beings,
Yes.
like rock and other things. All are called as beings only.
Okay, yes.
So there is in the truth outside what we experience, we have outer being,
Okay.
where non-living or living. But truth inside, pure being is there,
Okay.
which is what we call it as atomic stuff, which is made of 99.9999% empty like space, or what we call it as quantum essence. So this being, inner being, is the fundamental reality of existence.
Of the entire existence, whether it is living or non-living.
Very clear. So being is the basic fundamental reality. But we are caught up with the outer being partiality. Like I become outside world emotional being. I represent physical being. I represent mental being. I represent as an ecological being. In this ecosystem, we are one being.
One day, yes.
So we have in the outer being 4 beings we need to understand properly. The physical being. Why we call it as being? Physical being. In physicality, if we go deep inside, it's a being only. Pure being.
Okay.
Like that, the mental, psychological being we say.
Yes.
Because we are caught up in the psychology.
Yes.
But if you go deep inside, it's made of pure being only.
Okay.
Like that, emotional being,
Okay.
ecological being.
Okay.
And the inner, always one which exists, the fundamental reality, the inner being, pure being. So, once if we are able to understand this being, then we are able to understand the spirituality well.
Okay. So here, Shashi, it is like basically once we try to understand. So being is something that is there, whether it is a living being or a non-living being. But since we are human beings, we are able to realize the being, the true being state. Otherwise, a non-living being cannot experience it at all.
That's why human birth itself is very great.
Yes.
Because we are given with a boon of brain,
Yes.
where we can use IQ, we can use EQ, we can monitor, we can develop mastery over it. So that's the greatness of a human being.
Of a human being. So basically that is why a spirituality, every human being, it has got one experience.
Yeah.
So an experience is possible only for a human being.
Yeah. Where we need to understand we can become a superhuman by just understanding being.
Okay.
Because in the being, when you stand, you can operate body, you can operate mind, you can operate emotions, you can operate ecosystem.
So we will start, behaving very meaningfully with everything rather than, just living a life.
Living a life.
Okay.
It's a way of living. That's why spirituality itself is way of living, where we can utilize these faculties outside what we have. We can tackle them well.
Okay.
We can command over them.
Okay.
See, if emotions, dualities are there in life. Victory is there. We may lose. Failure is also there.
Yes.
Success is there. Then somebody will love, somebody will hate. All these things are all part and parcel. But as an inner being, we can monitor both. So we can tackle dualities well.
Okay. So basically, once we, understand, or once we get into our true nature, we are able to lead, as you said, the dualities are all lost, and we can, have a much more holistic life rather than just living a life.
Yeah, that's being human.
Being
That is what the greatness one becomes.
Absolutely. I think it is totally enlightening, Shashi, to let us know what exactly is a being. So ultimately it boils down to whether they call it as the truth, or they call it as present, or they call it as spirit. So, or being, or self. Everything boils down to one with different names attached to it, or different labels attached to it. So once we understand the true nature, understanding everything becomes a lot easier.
And way of living becomes easier. Being human, it's super, we can say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because when you are the being first, the first importance is being. Secondary, using faculties.
Okay.
Body, mind, emotions. So that's why being human is super.
Okay, so being human is super. We wind up the conversation with that. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashidhar.
Thank you.